In a moment, I'm going to be joined by one of my followers. I hope to see her soon. And you probably saw the title of this, which is called Surviving the Selfish. And great title, I think. And it's all about narcissism and narcissistic abusive relationships. We're going to hear about her story of her narcissistic abusive relationship, and we're going to unpack it a bit. There you are.
Hi.
Hi. I thought you were aware of how to do it, but you're here now, and that's all that matters. Okay?
How are
I'm
you?
very well. And Neha, that's how you pronounce your name, yes?
Right, Neha.
Yes. Welcome, Neha. Everybody, welcome, Neha. And Neha is going to be very brave, I believe. It's very brave what you're doing. Neha's one of my followers, and we've been talking about, I know not very much about her story because I wanted to save it for the live when she could tell us. We're going to unpack it a bit. I think she has some questions for me, yeah?
Right.
Which we'll get to. So, Neha, I know it's quite a big story. If you could condense it as best as possible for us, not wanting you to rush through it, but I just want you to you know, touch on the highlights of it. And we're all going to hold a space for her because I think this is still very raw and quite emotional for you. Yes? Yes.
Right. So, hi everyone. So my story is basically about loving a narcissist. That too in my professional life. So that was basically a mistake. Obviously, I couldn't recognize the person, his true colors, and I was not aware of this term narcissist before. Uh, the kind of behavior he did, or like the kind of the treatment I received after that, like I decided to like do a bit of research on this kind of symptoms, but because this doesn't look very normal, like it's very psychopathic, causing a lot of emotional and physical distress. So when I researched about this, I came to know about this symptom called narcissist, abusive symptoms. So then I recognized that this person is surely having this kind of symptoms. He's very people find him very charming, and like when he speaks with a lot of conviction, but at the same time behind the closed doors he's a completely different person, like you can't like compare those two uh, persons. So I have basically a few questions for you, and maybe like answering those questions, a lot of people here will get some clarity about what we are exactly speaking about. And if you ask me about my story, then mostly it's about the kind of violence he did on me, and I took a stand for myself. I decided to take a stand for myself after a year, uh, after almost 8 months of being together. And so I filed a complaint against that person. He was in police custody for 15 days, and right now things are going legally. He's out on bail, and I won't take the brand's name or his name, but I think people who are my friends or who have joined the live, maybe they could do a bit of research and come to know about whom I'm talking about. So this is the person with whom I was working.
So you were
It's my
working,
previous,
excuse me, you were working in the same company as this person, yes?
right. He's the CEO of the brand,
CEO. Okay.
right? Yeah. So Michelle, I have a few questions for you. Uh, if you allow me, I can start with those.
Yes, and I just want to say, I just want to ensure your safety in talking about this. Is this safe for you to talk about? Because the most important thing to me right now is your physical, certainly your physical safety and your emotional safety. Is this okay for
Right.
you?
Yeah. So this kind of persons basically stay in a state of denial, like they don't really tend to agree that they have done some
Yeah.
mistakes, and they don't have the courage to come in front and confront, like all they can do is like talk to people, spread a lot of rumors so that like it comes indirectly to me, but he can't do anything like and I have like quite worked on myself so that I don't get upset after this live session. But I feel that there are a lot of girls out there who need to join this live session and get some clarity
Yeah.
on what this thing is exactly about, right?
Well, thank you from myself and to others. You see, there's hearts coming up. We're all very grateful for you becoming so vulnerable in a public space. And I do these for the very reason that you just said, Neha, is to help others as well
Right.
as yourself, you know, because you said something at the very beginning, which so many of us, I'm a victim of narcissistic abuse myself, and I was raised by a narcissistic father and married
Oh
a
my God.
narcissist since divorce. But the reason I bring that up is because so many of us do not understand that we are in a narcissistic relationship. What I say is a narcissistic relationship is always best seen in the rear view mirror. Once it's over, then we
Right.
see it in the windscreen or the windshield. We don't see it. In fact, it can be, and you can verify this if you wish, but was there a love bombing phase for you? Yes.
Right.
Okay. And we feel
So he would do this, think you
crazy.
are uh, you don't need a bottle of water. You're just okay with a glass of water. So that person, what he did, he served me a bottle of water for maybe like a long time so that I get habituated to that.
Yes.
And then suddenly he takes away the bottle and give you a glass of water. So that doesn't like quench the thirst, like you just feel like you want more. And then suddenly he takes away the glass from you. So what you feel like you are thirsty
Yeah.
and you're just craving for that little bit of attention and he's not giving you that.
Right.
So he just makes this pattern of doing an on and off kind of a behavior, and you become feel so helpless, although you know that that's an illusion, that's not something that a real person who loves you do, but you know this, but you are so much like begging for love at that time, and he gives you a little bit of attention or love bombing and you are just okay with it.
Yeah.
Maybe a very small thing, maybe taking you out for a simple coffee, and you just get so happy because
Yeah.
that is the kind of pattern this kind of people follow. Yeah.
And if I may say this, I mean no disrespect to you because this also describes me, but at the time, you usually have quite low self esteem, quite low self worth. And when you get the smallest bit of attention, because remember, for all of us, our three greatest needs as a child is to be seen, to be heard, and to be validated. And
Right.
if we don't, and I'm not blaming your parents in any way, I never blame parents because they come into our lives with their own trauma. But if we don't have the attunement to our parent figures, let us say, and an extended
Mm-hmm.
family, then we crave it and we find it in some of the most dangerous places because these people can be very dangerous as well, not just emotionally dangerous, but
Right.
physically dangerous. And we won't go into why has been incarcerated, but you have mentioned that. So what you've just said to me, and I'm just going to unpack this a little bit as we go along. You just showed us the love bombing phase and then the devaluation phase, the beginning of the devaluation phase, where gives, gets you on the hook, and then starts to take it back. And sometimes it's dramatic. It just falls off a cliff. It just
Right.
changes in a second
And
or overnight.
people, most importantly, people around you don't understand this because it's something you are going through. People will say that why don't you like cut off all the ties and just come out of it, but you know that that person made you feel like his entire world, and at some point, after some certain point of time, he just devalues in such a bad way that you just lose your self confidence
Yeah.
completely. You just lost trust on yourself, all your confidence, all, because like I am a person who always wanted to like go into like a world of business and like create something of my own, and that person made me so devalued that I lost my self confidence completely. All I wanted at that point is a little bit of attention from him, and he just took advantage of the entire situation. And when people came to know about it, then he became very abusive, and all those like mental abuse he did on me when I was just trying to resign from his brand. And after that, like uh, it went for a month or two, when the violence started, like physical plus verbal abuse. And then I touched the breaking point where I felt that no, I need to take some steps. So that was the point when his wife came in contact with me. So she then conveyed, like narrated the entire story of how pathetic this person was, and 6 years of their married life. He was like a traumatic situation she went through. So yeah, she is also a witness in my case, and I'm just happy that she is taking a stand for this cause. She couldn't take a stand at her time, but right now she came forward, and she's yeah, definitely supporting me. I have people around me, so who is giving me positivity. But again, this is a situation where I have to go through this all alone. Yeah.
So you're not alone. You have us. You have this.
Right.
Okay,
Thank
they're
you so much,
never
Michelle.
alone. And that's why I do what I do, because I want people to know that they're not alone, because I've been there. I'm also, I work in the space of narcissistic abuse survivor. I work with survivors and childhood trauma and all of that. So there are people out there that are holding a space for you. And I'm definitely one of them. And I'm sure there are other people on this call, whether watching it now or later, will relate to this. So what is your first question?
Yeah, very first question is, what is the origin of a narcissist? Like, uh, I wanted to ask you that what are the factors that like contribute to this kind of a behavior of
Yeah,
that person? May it be from childhood, or like they develop it after a certain age? So that is the first question.
great question. I, about a month ago now, I did a little reel, and the opening line was, narcissism is not genetic, it's epigenetic. And it's been quite provocative. I get a lot of comments, and a lot of, people are pushing back, and I welcome it, because I think it's really important that we have these discussions. But just for context, I am a student of Dr. Gabor Mate, who
Okay.
is a trauma expert in the field of childhood developmental trauma. And so a lot of the things that I'm going to say comes from my learnings with him, Dr. Bezel Vanderkolk, Dr. Ramani, who you may be familiar with. She does. So we all agree. And I know there are people out there that are looking to sort of disprove that it's epigenetic, coming from our environment.
Right.
And they're trying to prove that it's genetic. However, I stand by what I'm about to say to you, which is, I absolutely 100% believe that we are not born narcissists. But let me just rephrase that, because I've just done another reel saying we're all born narcissistic, and we are. That's normal. We're all born narcissistic. So what happens, Neha, is in the first 3 years of the child's life, the child begins to, if the child is securely attached and attuned to the parent figures, the child begins to separate and individuate from the parent figures. So they don't leave town and get a job and get a new apartment. They just be, literally and metaphorically stand on
Right.
their own feet, right? They learn to walk and talk and say no. They're developing, the ability to decide what they want and what they don't want in their lives. So what happens, we're all born narcissistic because we can't do anything for ourselves. And that's what I mean. We can't change our diaper. We can't feed ourselves.
Right.
We can't burp ourselves. So we are totally reliant on the world, right? And
Right.
as we grow up, as I said, the first 3 years and ultimately the first 7 years, we separate and we develop our own personality. And our personality is usually in response to our environment. So if we aren't attuned to our parent figures, we then get what is called childhood
Right.
wound, right? And we adapt our personality to survive, to get our needs met, because we are mammals. We're all about survival.
Right.
We want to survive. We forage. We hunters gatherers, all that. So we want to survive, and we figure out very quickly and unconsciously almost that there are several ways of surviving. And one of those is to continue to be narcissistic. The child doesn't sit there and go, I'm going to be a narcissist for the rest of my life. But what they do is they realize that they can ask, they can take.
Right.
So they're simplify this. They're takers. They take from the world. I usually have something on my desk, but this is it. So this is I always refer to this. This is the narcissist, and this is the supply wheel around the narcissist, and we are all just folks. Now, this is normal for the first 3 years of a child's life,
Hmm.
but then it becomes dysfunctional for the child to continue to require the world to look after them. However, the child doesn't realize that, and find people, literally find people, in their lives that they'll realize that mother always gives them what they want and father doesn't give them what they want, for
Right.
example, vice versa. Or grandmother. This can go into other layers of the family. It's not just the parent. So imagine a spectrum. So on this side of the spectrum, you've got the child that is not attuned to anybody, or to very few people. And they're craving to be seen, to be heard, and to be accepted and validated, right? So they're finding people that do that. They might be outside of the family. So their woundedness creates the narcissistic personality adaptation. On the other end of the spectrum of how the narcissistic personality style develops is what is called the golden child. Okay?
Okay.
Now, the golden child is exactly the opposite. The golden child has been born into a family where one or both parents idolize this child. They are golden. Their feet don't touch the floor, right? They are
Right.
given everything that they want in life. And if the family doesn't have money, wealth, and things, they will give them a lot of attention. They might not let the child, what they're doing is they're not allowing the child to find themselves, to individuate, to separate. So they're two really distinct opposite ends of the spectrum, but they both can create, they're both wounded. There's a woundedness in this child. So I'll use myself. I did not have the attunement to my mother and father as I needed, and I'm not blaming them because they came into my life severely wounded, traumatically wounded. Okay, so they did the best they could. That's why I don't blame parents with the knowledge and the information they had. However, I went the other way. So the narcissist is in the middle and wants the world to come to them. I am a people pleaser. I'm in the middle, going out to the world to look after the world. So
Right.
my personality adaptation, because of my woundedness, is completely the opposite. And this is what's so interesting in this. So I'm, let's say, empathic. Now, the narcissist, as we know, is not empathic.
Right.
However, when we meet, we become the perfect trauma bond.
Right. Right.
Codependency. So my guess for you, Neha, is that you are probably an empath.
Empath. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they see, they have laser vision for you. They can sense you in a crowd. Absolutely. Because you are one of the suppliers that they need. And the thing is, they will lose suppliers as they go through life because people will figure out what they're about. People will figure out that they don't give anything. They just take all the time. So they're all looking. And I'm sorry to say, but empaths have a target on their back for a narcissist.
Right.
Does that answer your question?
Right. Yep, absolutely. So brilliantly explained. And yeah, I hope this answer will be a help to a lot of people to understand the traits of like how a person develop this kind of behavior. Yeah. So the next question, yeah.
Can I just add one thing to that? Forgive me for interrupting. There are other things that contribute to it. It's not just family, but it's influential people in the child's life. And that could be another child that bullies the child, you say. And so if the child is not securely attached within the family, outside circumstances can really change the direction of that child's personality, choices. And that's where it can lead. It can also lead to narcissism. So your next question, please.
Yeah, so my next question is if a narcissist is in a leadership position, so like a lot of power and a lot of
Yeah.
fame by then, so how do they like basically they how do this psychology change according to when they have the power of this leadership and they know a lot of people are already like following him or like the fans you could say, so then
Well,
how could a person like raise their voice against him when he's in a leadership position, and what kind of psychology works at that time?
It's a great question. So I'll back up for a moment before I specifically answer that. But statistically, I'm trying to remember that I think about 15% of the population, maybe 15 to 20% at the moment, have narcissistic personality style. I'm not talking about NPD, narcissistic personality
Yeah.
disorder. That needs to be diagnosed by a psychologist. That's not just something you can say, oh, that person's NPD. No, even I can't say that because I don't, that's not my area of work. I work with people that have been diagnosed or in relationship with people that have been diagnosed. So the thing is that those people, and thank you for your question. Yep, do put questions up, people, if you want. And then I'll come back to them and answer them if we have time. So 15 to 20% of the population has, or 50% has narcissistic personality style. When you go into corporate world, that goes up to 50%, 50. So medicine, law, corporate, like C-suite, military, this is highly researched, and sort of Hollywood. So that's actors, producers, directors, people like that. So somebody who is the leader of anything is, I'm not saying they're automatically narcissistic, but there's more chance that they have a narcissistic personality style to even get into that position, to want to get into that position. So if you look at certainly the Western world at the moment, we have a lot of, which I would absolutely say, hand on heart, narcissistic personality style leaders. We've gone from leaders that want to lead the community to very populist leaders that only care about themselves.
Right.
And you have to be a certain kind of person to want to do that. So in other words, you're not going to have a lot of empathy. Things are just going to roll off your back, like criticism and stuff like that. It's just going to roll off your back. And that is not an empath. I'm an empath. I'm a highly sensitive person as well, HSP. Things are I'm very sensitive and I sense a lot of things. They would not, they're great, but they don't tend to be the leaders that we choose in this world. So to answer your question, how do you respond to people like that? Very carefully, very carefully. And I always have these on my desk, which I'm going to bring out for you. There's a technique called gray rock. I don't know if you've heard of gray rock.
Right.
Okay. This is something that is suggested to do when you're working in an environment where it's very toxic and very authoritative. You really need to become like a gray rock. And what that means is you need to become very unemotional. You got to shut down the empathy in that space, not in your life, but certainly in that space, and not take things personally. Because with a narcissist, nothing is personal. And I know that's really hard for people to hear because they think, oh, but it feels so personal. But it's not, because all they're doing is building their supply wheel, right? It is not personal, because if it was personal, they'd have to see you as a person. They'd have to care about you, but they don't. And I'm sorry, I hope it's too offensive for you to hear or too painful for you to hear. But this man, I believe, was looking to have his needs met, not your needs met. And the love bombing is only to get you on the hook. So you want gray rock, you want to take all the emotion out of it. So if you have to have any dealings with this person, male or female, you've got to just accept that this is not personal. And when I do my workshops, I bring little gray rocks if everybody wants to sometimes put in their pocket so they can feel it when they're talking to somebody or they're on the phone with somebody, to really connect with that, remind themselves that this is not personal. Now there's another one. I haven't found the yellow rock yet, so I've covered this with yellow. The yellow rock is a step back or forward, however you want to look at it. So there cannot gray rock a person because maybe you have a child with them and you need to speak to to them. So it's a way of communicating with them that you still communicate with them, because the ultimate thing is you have no contact, that you have no contact with a narcissist. But sometimes
Yeah.
your boss, or they're the father or mother of your child, you can't do that. So what you do is, as I understand it, let's say they send you an email as the mother of their child, and they say, you know, I'm happy to pick up the kids at 7:30 on Friday, period. And by the way, you're a terrible mother. So that can be very activating to some people. But what you want in a situation like that is say, great, I look for, the kids will be ready at 7:30 on Friday, and thank you for your comment, or I acknowledge your comment, but you do respond. So once again, both of these is taking the emotion and the personal attack out of the equation. And I know that's hard. I've been there myself. I still fall into the hole from time to time when I have to speak to the father of my children. They're older now, so it's a lot easier. But it is difficult, but it's like training a puppy. You've got to practice, practice, practice. You will, or they will, make mistakes, or you will forget, or they'll say something that is really, really hurtful to you and you want to respond, but they don't care. Remember, they don't care about you.
Right.
It won't move the needle with them whatsoever. So if you're in a job that you can't get out of, because my best advice would be leave and get another job. You really don't want to spend all that time of your life in a toxic situation.
Right.
But if you can't leave, you're going to have to learn how to not take things personally. And you can do that with, affirmations, meditations, some body work, grounding, things like that, so that you interrupt the pattern of taking offense to what that person says. Can you see from this position now, would that have been possible for you at all to do at the time? If you knew?
Not exactly. Yeah. So when I was dealing with it, I had a very hard time. But yeah, I wish I could have like came in touch with you much before. So like I could have known all these things. I will definitely practice it now because I haven't completely moved on. Like I stay very strong and like I do my daily work, but there is a kind of mental trauma going on when I go to sleep. I get bad dreams and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So yeah, I will definitely practice this. Also, my this with this I come to my next question. That is like in a very early stage of relationship, especially with this young girls of teenagers, you could say, and this kind of a narcissist man. Who is like portraying to be a very good parent or a single father. This man shows himself to be a single father on Instagram, and like takes care of his daughter in a very different way. So this kind of I would say that I don't have my father. So there is some, like empty space,
Yeah.
which, yeah, exactly. So like, and this person was a great single father. I hope so. So like I fell for him, and
Yeah.
so this young girls of my age, like how could they figure out that this person is a narcissist? Like what are the symptoms? Like how can one
Yeah.
deal with it at a very early stage?
It's hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It's hard.
Right.
I was married for 16 years, and I completely missed that my ex was a narcissist, because he was covert. So that's I'm not trying to give myself a get out of jail card here,
So
but that's
also like
hard.
could you tell more about this cohort narcissism? Because I hope like I have read about it, but many here must not know about what is cohort
Yeah.
narcissism.
Well,
Yeah.
first of all, let me do classic narcissism. Classic narcissists. We've heard this, but it's worth going over. They're grandiose, they're delusional, they're entitled, they're very charismatic, they're very sociable, outgoing. They might tell great jokes, make people laugh. I mean, you want to be around
Right.
because they're a lot of fun. They can be handsome, beautiful. Even if they aren't physically handsome or beautiful, they become handsome or beautiful.
Right.
Know them, right? Because they're like, they really see me for the first time. They really see me. What they're doing is they're reflecting back to you what you really want to see and need to see in yourself, but it's not real. That's the thing. It's not real. The person we meet going into a narcissistic relationship, we will never meet again because the mask has slipped. It's that they're gone. They were never real to begin with. So that's why so many of us stay in and out of these relationships, because we're craving that first person that we met that saw us and, you know, looked after us. So to answer your question, a covert narcissist is all of those things, except they are not outgoing. They tend to be more introvert, let's say, instead of extrovert. I would say classic narcissists are much more extrovert. They will be leaders of countries. They will stand on stage. They will do rallies. They will be actors. They you know, even actors can be introvert. But I'm confusing things a little. Let me just stick to this simple thing. So, and covert narcissists can appear to be very vulnerable. That's why it's hard, right? They can even appear to be empathic. But what you'll begin to notice with them is, and these are the basics of any narcissist, they will never apologize. They will never give you a heartfelt apology. They will, everything will always circle back to them. So they will be the victim in any story. Even if it's about you. Let's say you came home from work and your partner said, "How was your day?" And you went, "Oh, it was a really bad day." And it will, by the time the conversation is over, it will be about the narcissist. It won't be about you, because they minimize. So sticking to covert will be people that complain a lot about what they don't have in life. So they will say, "Oh, if only I came from a good family and had a great education, I would be so successful." Or they'll say things like, if only they could see how good I am at work, I would get that promotion. Oh, it looks like we lost her. I'm going to keep talking and answer this question, if that's okay with everybody. Or if anybody wants to jump in with a question. I know there was one earlier until we get Neha back. I had a question here. How do you identify grayalities? Interesting one. How do you identify a narcissistic personality in the early phases of any relationship? Okay, so this is very much what I'm talking about now. It's hard, okay, because I see healing, there are 4 steps of healing. There's awareness, acceptance of self in that moment, and then we become more conscious, and then we make better choices. But everything starts with awareness. So if you notice that I remember, so I'll use myself as an example. I remember one of my narcissistic relationships, because I've had a few. I was talking to a girlfriend and I said, "Oh, and he's done this and he sent me that and he's writing poetry. It's almost too good to be true." And she said, "It probably is too good to be true." I couldn't see that at the time because I was craving it. So speed of connection is a big red flag. Okay, so if you have any doubts about whether you're in relationship with a narcissistic person, slow things down, really slow things down, and you will then have time and space and grace to see what is really going on. So I want you to lean back. If they're really leaning into you, I want you to lean back. As I said earlier, the narrative will always end up being about them. They will never apologize for anything because they're never wrong. And it takes time, but you'll begin to notice these things with a narcissistic partner. Now, just to say that the love bombing phase can go on for 6 hours or for up to a year. I mean, there's no absolute in that. So the love bombing phase can go on for quite some time, and you can get to the point where you are just so loved up by this person and you can't possibly leave them. And then they drop the other shoe. And then they start going into the gaslighting and the minimizing and the triangulation and all of those lovely qualities of narcissistic relationships. I've done a lot of reels on these, so if you don't know what some of my terminology is, I'm sure you'll find a reel on my page. They will isolate you from your friends and family ultimately because they don't want to be found out by other people. They don't want people to be tracking their behavior. Now, you might not notice this in the early stages, But really, the big markers are the love bombing. If it feels too good to be true, it probably is. And you really need to listen to your gut, which a lot of people don't know how to listen to. So I hope that answers your question. I have another one from Oli Pathan. Is the narcissist, if the narcissist can able to change their attitude or personality if they want to change? Well, that's a great question, because the real question in there, the real essence of that is if they want to change or do they want to change. If in order to change, you have to become aware and accept that there is something that you want to change, or there's something that you're doing that isn't healthy for you and for the people around you. And narcissists, in my experience and opinion, rarely do that. I mean, I actually dated somebody who realized, um, uh, sorry, Neha, you need to request to join again. That's the only way I can, sorry, she's come back, but you have to request to join. Actually, I've just invited you. So I'll carry on answering this question. So people have to want to change. We cannot change anybody. Hi, Neha. I'm just answering.
Sorry, just there was some network issues, and I just dropped.
I'm just finishing a question here, answering. So the narcissist needs, the person needs to want to change, whatever they are. Narcissists are very, very low on that scale of realizing that there's anything wrong with them or anything they can change. And believe me, there's no way you can convince them of that. In fact, most therapists would say that it is the most difficult personality style to work with. And something, a little known fact about a narcissist actually seeing a therapist is that a lot of therapists do not have knowledge, training, and experience how to work with a narcissist, or even how to spot a narcissist. So what they do, the narcissist is very clever. They'll work that out from the start. They will then do all the things they've done to their partner. They will love bomb, gaslight, triangulate, all of that. And the therapist won't even know it. And what the narcissist is doing in the therapy sessions is learning how to be a better narcissist. So what they're doing is getting new strategies from the therapist. The therapist is unknowingly, unwittingly teaching them how to be a better narcissist, because they don't see the narcissism. They feel for this person. Oh, you're misunderstood, you know, and all of that. So let me help you with that. And the narcissist is a win-win, because their partner is like, oh, it's great, he or she is going to therapy and things are going to get better. Not necessarily. So if you are in a relationship and your partner does want to or is willing to, I would get a little bit involved with that, you know, just in the nicest possible way. Just help them find the right person, not take charge of it. But it would be very helpful to both of you, because that person could end up coming out being a better narcissist. And that's a fact. So your third question is, Neha.
Yeah. So my third question is like a person who have suffered from narcissistic abuse, like how long term effect can it cause to that person, and like may she or he will be able to recover from it, or like maybe like it could result in some other kind of disease, or maybe like physical hazards, you could say. So what are the possibilities?
Okay, great question. So first of all, the good news is you're not born narcissistically abused, right? So there's not like a gene or anything.
Yeah.
And we have this wonderful part of our brain called neuroplasticity, and it's the ability to sort of morph and change, build new synapses and things like that. So we can unlearn things that are not hardwired in us. And narcissistic abuse, as awful as it is not hardwired in you. So you can unlearn it, but unlearning it does require, and I'm not saying this because I am a therapist, but I do believe it needs some professional intervention to get you on the right track, right? And if that's a course that you can join with other people, if that's a support group that is free, I don't know if you have that in where you live, in that area that you live, but it is really, really important to have some professional mental health intervention, because
Right.
your resiliency will be very low. In fact, you
Right.
know, it, the thing is, if you've become involved with a narcissist and there were already existing levels of low self-worth and low self-esteem, they will drop even lower. And that's very difficult to come out of by yourself. Of course, you can read books, you can watch videos. There's a lot of information out there now, but we sometimes need very specific to our circumstances. Because I'm meeting you today, and your story is similar to others, but there are so many nuances to your story that a professional could work with you, even if it was in a group of people. You know, you could get sort of a
Right.
more of a one-to-one intervention. What healing is, healing, so we cut ourselves, we burn ourselves, right?
Right.
And we end up having a scar. The wound heals. We have a wound, the wound heals, and we have a scar, but we still have the scar, right? And some of the tissue that heals to create that scar is actually deadened nerve endings. They don't feel anything anymore, you know. So that can be a good thing when it's something physical like that, because we don't have the pain anymore. But what happens to a human being is we get quite deadened emotionally, we get shut down, and we dissociate from the rest of the world, which can lead to all kinds of things like depression. And what people really go through, Neha, after a narcissistic abuse relationship ends is grief. They go through grief.
Right.
And grief are things like, some of the stages of grief are denial, depression, anger, acceptance. You know, there's 5, sometimes 6 stages of grief. So you need some support for that. That's really hard. Even if you can't see somebody professionally, you need support from your family and friends, people that really understand you. Do you have that? Do you have some support?
Yeah, people that they're around me who supports me. I have the support of my family, uh, of course, and I have good people around me who are like, uh, helping me to cope up. Right now, all I want is someone, like could just sit, maybe not talk much, but at least be there. So
Right.
this is at moments I feel. Sometimes I feel really lonely, and with this comes to my next question, which is about that I get those flashbacks and sudden triggers. Like uh, suddenly out of nowhere, I start getting panic attacks, and like when I recall all those moments. So I need a solution to deal with it at that moment when no one is there around me, and I'm feeling very helpless and lonely, and I get those flashbacks constantly.
Okay.
So what should I do?
Well, that's a long answer. There's a lot to it, but I'm going to give you a short answer because of time. And it's something you all could do right now. Go on to my YouTube channel, which is at Mish Para. So it's Michpara. I do long form videos of all of the stuff that I talk about. But I have this one really popular video about self havening. Now, self havening is a psychosensory technique where you stroke parts, so shoulders to elbows in a circular manner, face. And this releases delta waves. Delta waves are our deep sleep and healing state. And I've done a video on there. It's only 10 minutes, and it's to help you get through uh, these events that have been very traumatizing to you. It's called event havening. I have lots of videos on different types of havening, but this one will be very good for you. So what people do, and some of them might be watching right now because they write to me and they say, it saved my life. When I feel absolutely overwhelmed and triggered, I put your video on. And what I do, it's literally, I'm sitting with you, giving you a session, and I'm instructing you what to do. I tell you everything to do, and all you need to do is follow me. And you can pause it and catch up with it and whatever. And that will break through and interfere with some of these patterns of panic and anxiety that has developed as a result of the post-traumatic stress. And several people agree on this, myself included, that it's best not to get involved in any way, shape, or form with anyone for at least a year. So that's no sexting or romantic texting or internet internet dating sites or anything like that. Okay, because you really need to heal, and that is a lot of self-care. That is rest. That is self-havening will really help you. And the beauty of self-havening is you need no money. All you need is your hands. You can do it for yourself. You can do it anytime, anywhere. If you don't want to do it on your face here, you can just do it on your hands, under a table. You can go to the ladies' room and just do it for a couple minutes and add some affirmations to it and really ground yourself. And what we really need to do right now, Neha, is build some resilience, because your resilience will be very low. And I know that from a personal perspective. My resilience was very low and everything
Right.
became overwhelming. Does that resonate with you?
Absolutely.
Right.
And I will definitely watch the entire video, and I hope it will help a lot of
Yeah.
people. Yeah, for sure. Also, like in this short session, it's very difficult for me to like narrate the entire story of mine I have gone through. So just wanted to share that since the time I filed an FIR against him, I was when I was lonely mostly, someone told me to write down everything that's going on in your mind.
Yeah.
So I started writing down my feelings. And I thought that I was writing down so much at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day. So I thought that why not try to write a book on my past 6 months experience. And because I think my story will uh, will actually help a lot of women out there. And I hope that 3 months phase, that was a beautiful phase, most beautiful phase, yet the most maybe the regretful phase of my life. So I'm just trying to write a book on that, and I'm like still working on it. I will share it with you once I'm done. Yeah.
And you've just reminded me, something I tell a lot of my clients is to write the narcissist a letter. And I want you to put everything in that letter, anger, whatever. And you put it in an envelope, write just their first name on it, not their whole name, not their address, just like John or Paul or whatever, right?
Huh.
And then you have choices. You can put it in a mailbox and send it out into the universe, to the universal energy.
Right.
The letter won't get to him or her, but the message, I believe, universally will get. The other thing you can do is put it in a shredder and shred it, or you can set it on fire safely. Okay? But it is, what is so important is to get that out of your body. And there is a connection between the brain and the hand. So you must write it. It's not typing it, you must write it, so that you get all of that out energetically. You get it out, and you will notice how that lifts you. So if you haven't done that yet, please do that. Watch my video on event havening. My YouTube channel is at Michele Para, and it will really help you. I have people all over the world saying, who I don't know, saying I've watched it, and you'll see the comments underneath it. So I think you deserve 10 minutes. You can give yourself 10 minutes, yeah, to calm yourself down and to bring yourself back to center and not let the world control you, control your emotions. Okay?
Absolutely.
Good. So from myself and hopefully everybody else that's been on this call, we want to thank you very much for your bravery, your courage, your openness, and your vulnerability for being here today. This is going to go up on my page and yours, I believe. I'll share this with you. And we will be helping people even beyond this moment, talking about this. Okay?
Great.
And if anybody wants to do what Neha has just done, please get in touch with me, send me a DM, and we'll talk about it. And I'm going to do more of this to help more people. Okay? So all that remains for me to say is keep well, everybody. Stay safe. All right? Safety is everything. We're not looking for happiness and love in relationships. We're looking for safety. And in narcissistic, there's usually very little safety. And to answer that person's question that asked earlier, if you do not feel safe in a relationship, we don't have to name it. It doesn't matter if it's narcissistic or toxic. Get out. Please get out. Your mental health, physical health, and well-being are more important than anything else in this world. Okay? Bye,
Right.
everybody.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.